What the weird and the eerie have in common is a preoccupation with the strange, not the horrific. The allure that the weird and the eerie possess is not captured by the idea that we enjoy what scares us. It has rather to do with the fascination for the outside, for that which lies beyond standard perception, cognition, and experience. This fascination usually involves a certain apprehension, perhaps even dread, but it would be wrong to say that the weird and the eerie are necessarily terrifying. Perhaps my delay in coming around to the weird and the eerie has to do with the spell cast by Freud concept of the unheimlich. As is well known, the unheimlich has been inadequately translated into English as the uncanny. The word which better captures Freud's sense of the term is the unhomely. The unheimlich is often equated with the weird and the eerie. Freud's own essay treats the terms as interchangeable, but the influence of Freud's great essay has meant that the unheimlich has crowded out the other two modes. The examples of the unheimlich which Freud furnishes, doubles, mechanical entities that appear human, prosthesis, call up a certain kind of disquiet. What enduringly fascinates is the cluster of concepts that circulate in Freud's essay, and the way in which they often recursively instantiate the very processes to which they refer. Repetition and doubling, themselves an uncanny pair which double and repeat each other, seem to be at the very heart of every uncanny phenomenon which Freud identifies. There is certainly something that the weird, the eerie, and the unheimlich share. They are all affects, but they are all also modes. Modes of film and fiction, modes of perception, ultimately, you might even say, modes of being. Even so, they are not quite genres. Freud's unheimlich is about the strange within the strangely familiar, the familiar as strange, about the way in which the domestic world does not coincide with itself. All of the ambivalences of Freud's psychoanalysis are caught up in this concept. Is it about making the familiar and the familial strange? Or is it about returning the strange to the familial? The form that is perhaps most appropriate to the weird is montage, the conjoining of two or more things which do not belong together. Hence the predilection within surrealism for the weird, which understood the unconscious as a montage machine, a generator of weird juxtapositions. At first glance, the eerie might seem closer to the unheimlich than the weird. Yet, like the weird, the eerie is also fundamentally to do with the outside, and here we can understand the outside in a straightforwardly empirical as well as more abstract transcendental sense. A sense of the eerie seldom clings to enclosed and inhabited domestic spaces. We find the eerie more readily in landscapes partially emptied of the human. What happened to produce these ruins, this disappearance? What kind of entity was involved? What kind of thing was it that emitted such an eerie cry? As we can see from these examples, the eerie is fundamentally tied up with questions of agency. What kind of agent is acting here? Is there an agent at all? There is no inside except as a folding of the outside. The mirror cracks, I am another, and I always was. The shudder here is the shudder of the eerie, not of the unheimlich. In Mulholland Drive, released in 2001, the stability of the opposition which had structured Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks begins to collapse. No doubt this is partially because of the shift away from the small town setting and the new focus on LA. Lynch's customary preoccupation with dreams and the oniric is now refracted and redoubled by the mediated and manufactured dreams of the Dream Factory, Hollywood. The Hollywood setting proliferates with embedded worlds, films within films, and possibly films within films within films, screen tests, performed roles, fantasies. Each embedding contains a possibility of a disembedding, as something that was at a supposedly inferior ontological level threatens to climb up out of its subordinated position and claim equal status with the level above. Figments from dreams cross over into waking life. Screen tests appear at least as convincing as the exchanges in the supposedly real world scenes that surround them. In Mulholland Drive, however, rendered in the on screen title as Mulholland Der, with its suggestion of Mulholland Dream, the overwhelming tendency appears to move in the opposite direction. It is not so much that dreams become taken for reality, as that any apparent reality subsides into a dream.